What's up everybody, it's Austin here from Austin Hall Audio and Visual and Make Pop Music, and I am back this week with another tutorial. This week I wanted to kind of chat about how to mix a pop rock vocal that's really going to cut through a dense mix. So we're going to be looking at the song Back To by Nightbreakers. It just came out, so if you guys like this in the actual video, we'll link it below so you can actually just go check it out and casually listen to it. This is a song that I had the pleasure of producing and recording and mixing and mastering. I don't do a ton of tracking, but since this band is from Tampa, they actually just came over to Orlando for a couple days and we knocked out a few songs, and this was one of them. So everything that you're gonna hear was recorded by me. So if I'm able to kind of give a little bit more specific detail than normal, that's probably why. But we're basically gonna talk about how to get the vocals cutting through a really dense pop rock track that has 150, 160 tracks all together, but still has no problem letting that vocal be front and center, especially in that chorus. So if you guys like the video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. We really do appreciate it. If you wanna go support us, check out our website. We got tons of stuff to offer over there. But I'm not gonna bore you with any of that. Let's actually hop around and let's hop into the DAW and see exactly what you need to do to get your vocal to cut right through a really dense pop rock mix. All right, let's go ahead and let's take a look at the track. So for this video, we're only gonna be talking about the vocals. If you guys have any questions, as always, just ask us and we can probably do another video using this song on whatever you guys wanna know. So for right now, let's just go ahead and talk about the general vocal arrangement, and then we'll actually talk about the mix. So in the verse, it's really simple. There's not a ton of vocal layers in the song in general. We've really just got this lead right here.
Feelings, I just gotta tell you how I'm feeling. I can't stop myself from overthinking.
And what we did to process that was, let me go ahead and turn everything off. So the singer Zach actually came in, tracked it in my studio. We tracked it in my old room that looks basically just like this. And then we used the Slate ML1 going into the Slate VMS1 kind of preamp, going straight into the Apollo. And then this is how we kind of processed it outside of that. So I used some auto-tune and just set that to the actual key of the song. And then had it at 22 with fine tuning at 11. Then we threw on some VMR, and this is where we're actually going to get the vocal sound of the mic. So we used the 251 on Zach, and then I have the intensity driven pretty high because I like a lot of that kind of tubey saturation, especially in such a dense mix like this. It adds a lot of like nice kind of mid-tones to the voice, and I feel like it really sits in nicely while still being kind of bright and airy. So we drove that up really high. And then we kind of brought down some of the air in his vocals just so we didn't have to de-ess it that hard. And then we brought down quite a bit of this like kind of 200 region. So let me show you what's going on here. Here's before the EQ and then after the EQ.
Feelings, I just gotta tell you how I'm feeling.
So we're really just kind of narrowing in that vocal and just making sure that there's not a lot of low end, especially as we drive it pretty hard into a couple compressors. That starts to get really kind of tubby and nasty. So we're just gonna kind of keep that going into an 1176.
Feelings, I just gotta tell you how I'm feeling.
And it's actually doing pretty light compression on this, so we're only going between like 3 and 5 on some peaks, just to really kind of touch it as I would if I was using something more analog. And then we're gonna do a de-esser. I always like to de-ess before I start to really heavily compress. That way we're not gonna run into a lot of S issues with that compression. So it's just Fab Filter de-ess on the male wideband, and then I just kind of tweak the range and the threshold. So we're kind of getting rid of some of that S without it getting lispy.
I can't stop myself from overthinking.
Then we're gonna go into a 2A, which is my second compressor of choice. And this is probably gonna be driving it a little bit harder.
Can't stop myself from overthinking. Maybe I'm just out of my head.
So I really almost wanted that kind of like broadcastery, almost distorted compression on this. So we crushed this between like 10 and 20 dB. And this is really making that difference of like getting that vocal to sit nicely in the mix. So let me go ahead and show you what it sounds like before and after this in the mix.
I can't stop myself from overthinking. Maybe I'm just out of my head.
And that's really just helping that kind of sink in. And then we've got some EQ coming in where we're just kind of tightening it up. You can see right here, it's a lot of the EQs I'm always doing. I like to scoop out some of these low, kind of low mids.
Just gotta tell you how I'm feeling.
I don't really need any of that. That's kind of boxy.
Maybe I'm just out of my head.
Still kind of boxy and telephonic. And then we've got this like 1K. Kind of nasally. So I'm really getting rid of all the boxiness, all of the mud, and some nasality, if that's even a word. And then that's kind of just tightening up that vocal just a little bit more. So we're not really changing the characteristics. We're more so just kind of tightening them and bringing them all in. And then we've got the De-Esser right here, doing kind of the same thing as earlier. I just like to de-ess in multiple stages. Then we've actually got a multiband compressor, and this is a thing that I've been doing on vocals kind of a lot lately, especially more aggressive vocals, is instead of having to keep compressing and compressing, what I like to do is I like to kind of, take some of that low end and take some of those telephonic kind of trebly, kind of nasally high mids right here, and I like to just kind of multiband compress those. So instead of scooping them with an EQ, or instead of compressing everything so they kind of come down in the mix, we're really just attacking those two issues by themselves.
I can stop myself from overthinking. Maybe I'm just out of my head.
Because these are really important parts of the vocals where if we just scooped them out, the whole vocal would feel a little bit hollow and kind of lacking energy. So what I like to do with a multiband is make sure that we're not going to lose that energy. We're more so just kind of taming it when those frequencies get a little bit overbearing. So it's not always doing that much, but when it kicks in, it is pretty highly needed. So that's it for like the main kind of vocal mixing. Now we're just going to go to a couple different vocal effects to kind of give this some flavor. So in the verses, I like to use Decapitator on this, just to add some saturation.
Feelings, I just gotta tell you how I'm feeling.
So what I'm doing is I'm driving it pretty hard. I'm not really saturating much of the low end because I don't want it to get muddy. I'm not saturating much of the high end because I don't want it to get super sibilant and just kind of bright and nasty. And I do kind of lean this more towards the bright side because I'll show you as we tweak that. It gets muddy and then it gets way overly bright.
Feelings, I just gotta tell you how I'm feeling. I can stop myself.
So somewhere there at like 1 o'clock feels really, really good to me. And then I just had this mix at like 11 o'clock, so not quite 50%. So we're still getting a lot of that saturation. However, it's not anything insane. Next, we had H delay. So as you can see, we are processing this monovocal on a stereo bus, and that is specifically for something like this. And we've just got a little slapback delay in there.
Feelings, I just gotta tell you how I'm feeling. I can stop myself from overthinking.
And that's just to give us a little bit of depth, to kind of give us that like crushed kind of indie rock vibe. And then we've got this kind of parallel, which is the same vocal just duplicated. And it's basically the same up to this point. We've got this at 100% wet and a little shorter. So this is only the slapback delay. And what we did with this was we drove the formant up with auto-tune. So it's just kind of going to sit under almost like a low vocal would, but it's just going to kind of give some extra width and some extra tail to it.
Feelings, I just gotta tell you how I'm feeling. I can stop myself from overthinking. Maybe I'm just out of my head.
And that's pretty much all we have for the verses. So it's just that one lead, and then we've got that little kind of parallel, wide, formanted down vocal on the sides. And then we're gonna go into this pre-chorus where the lead is processed exactly the same as the verses. And then we've just got a vocoder on top. Oh, I didn't even show you guys the parallels. Hold on, I'll show you the parallels in 1 second, because they're the same throughout the whole song. So for this pre-chorus, we've got the lead right here, which is exactly the same. Then we've got our classic low vocal. So all of you are always asking how to do this. I'll show you guys real quick again. We took Decapitator off, we took H delay off, and instead I added doubler to kind of spread this out and give it some width. And then the way that I like to tune my vocals down is in auto-tune. I just turn it down right here, 12 semitones, which is an octave. You could easily do that in Little Altar Boy. You could easily just highlight the vocal right here and take it down an octave there. There's a ton of different ways you can do it, but this was my preferred method. And then adding doubler just kind of makes it super wide.
Watch it fall, broken hearted, it's all.
And then we've got this vocoder right here that we used with Isotope Vocal Synth. We've done a tutorial on that, so if you guys are looking for it, go on our channel. I think it's got like Taylor Swift and Zed on the thumbnail, and that'll show you exactly how to use that vocoder.
Watch it fall, broken hearted, it's all my fault. Do I ever cause you're mine at all?
And that's pretty much it also for that pre-chorus. So vocally, this song is pretty simple, and you'll see even as we get into the chorus, we don't have any harmonies. It's just a triple track vocal with that same vocoder and that low vocal. And the reason we didn't track a ton of harmonies is because we have that vocoder adding a lot of that different texture and all of those different harmonies within it. So we didn't need to actually track a ton just because it didn't really fit the vibe of the song. So we got away with doing a really quick vocal pass on this. Let's go ahead and look at the chorus vocal. So this vocal, I think, is processed a little bit differently. So yeah, you can see right here, we've got the auto-tune. That's definitely gonna be the same. And then right here, we've got virtual mix rack. That's definitely the same. all the way up until we took off Decapitator and we took off H delay. And the reason that we specifically did that was because I've got the vocal saying a couple more times that we're going to be spreading out for width in this chorus. So I don't need that saturation or that width coming either from a parallel channel or from some kind of different kind of slapbacky delay on the main vocal. So I like to go for a cleaner vocal in the choruses because we've got a little bit more room just to let that shine with everything that we want to do with it. And then I'll turn these on. Here's what the main vocal sounds like on its own, and I'll kind of run you through the EQ and the compression one more time.
I wish we could go back to how it was when we were in love, but now it's all gone. I know I must sound crazy.
So you could see there that we were getting a little bit more compression on the 76. We're now between like 5 and 7. But what we did was we kind of pulled back this 2A a little bit.
I wish we could go back to how it was when we were in love.
And that's giving us more of that kind of pop style balance compression instead of just really squeezing that LA 2A. So right now we've got about 5 dB of compression on the 76 and between 7 and 10 on the 2A, which is typically where I'll go more often instead of going so light on the 76 and then so heavy on the 2A. So a couple different ways that you could stage compression, and you kind of get to hear how different they sound. The other one definitely has more of that kind of like broadcastery, saturated low mids, especially from squeezing that 2A so hard. And this one's definitely feeling a bit more balanced. EQ moves are pretty much the same. We took off a little bit more of that high mid right there, just because as he's projecting, it's really kind of getting a little bit built up.
But now it's all gone. I know I must sound crazy.
De-Esser again, not doing anything super duper crazy. And then this MB is doing the exact same thing as before, just really tightening it up where it needs to and not affecting it where it doesn't need to.
But now it's all gone. I know I must sound crazy and never say the right thing.
And that's going to let us boost that vocal without it getting super bassy or super shrill, so we can get a little bit more volume out of it, but it's going to feel tighter altogether. So that's it for the lead vocal. And then before I go into actually showing you the stacks, let's go ahead and just take a look at the quick parallels. You guys have seen these all before. It's the same ones we always use. Roland Dimension D on the 3 channel right here for the parallel widening. That's basically a chorus or a doubler. Just going to add some nice width and some nice shine on the sides. Use it very lightly and very sparingly, otherwise it could sound like an 80s power ballad. Then we've got Verb Suite right here doing my vocal plate. This is my favorite vocal reverb ever. It's the BM7, one of the best analog reverb units ever made, and then Slate did an amazing job at kind of recreating that. Of course, it's 100% wet because we are using it as a send. The reason I like using stuff as a send is so I can do stuff like this where I can go in and EQ it down. So we're really just using the reverb to get those mids. We don't really want any sibilance and we don't really want any mud down here. So I like my reverbs nice and tight. So you're really just going to get that midsection to kind of add into the vocal. You don't need a ton other than that. Then we've got our short reverb, which is just a small Vox from, again, the BM7. Probably the best vocal reverb unit ever. 100% wet. We're not even EQing that one because it didn't need it. We've got our stereo delay, which is H delay. You could use any kind of delay you have. I like ping pong delays for my vocals, especially in the chorus. So we've got a quarter note ping pong delay set to the tempo, 100% wet. Turn off the analog so you don't get any hiss, and then we're gonna low pass and high pass just a little bit to kind of filter that in, and then we're gonna kind of tighten that up even more with some EQ. And you can see right here we're going pretty aggressive. We're, you know, we're cutting at 1500 and we're cutting at 500, so we're really gonna get that kind of like telephonic-y effect with this. And then we're also gonna send that vocal delay to that long reverb. So the delay is now also gonna be feeding into the reverb. So it's not just gonna be a dry delay. To me, this really helps it kind of sit into the mix, and it helps you kind of get a little bit more noticeability out of your reverb without having to drown it and getting that really kind of amateur super wet sound. If you have that delay going into that reverb, you're gonna get a little bit more bang for your buck, and you're gonna be able to drive it a little bit harder without making the mix super muddy or super kind of cluttered up. Then we have a slapback delay. I'm not even sure if we use this a ton because we have so many inserts of slapback delays, but it's just a slap delay insert setting on H delay doing nothing super crazy. So now that we've taken a look at what the parallels actually are, you can see all the levels right here. So generally pretty low. We did actually use that slap delay pretty heavily, so I'm glad I showed you guys that. But everything else is, you know, minus 25 dB, not doing anything super crazy.
I think we should go back to summer suns.
So that's the main vocal. The right vocal is literally the same thing duplicated and just brought down 2 dB. Left vocal, same thing, just brought down a dB or two. I like to have my sides pretty loud, but if they're the same, it sounds kind of weird. So I'll typically pull the sides down anywhere from 2 to 5 dB. That way you're still getting that width and that depth. However, it doesn't sound like there's a bunch of lead vocals on top of each other. So with these three together, you get that really nice.
I wish we could go back to how it was when we were in love, but now it's all gone. I know.
And that's really all we actually tracked. And then there's that vocoder. Oh, that's the low vocal, but it's the same low vocal that we talked about in the bridge. You can see it's literally the same track. And then the vocoder right here. And then in the mix all together.
Honestly, I wish we could go back to how it was when we were in love, but now it's all gone. I know I must sound crazy and never say the right things. I had it all.
And that's it for the lead vocals. Then we've just got a bunch of different kind of vocal ear candy. We've made tons of videos on that in the past. So we've got delay throws, we've got low vocals, we've got crushed vocals. But the actual main vocal arrangement is much simpler than a lot of the songs we go over. It's just a lead, track the lead again, spread them out in the chorus, and then we had the low vocal duplicate and the vocoder, which are all just the main track duplicated. So we really just had to have Zach sing the verses 1 time and the choruses 3 times. And that was it. We didn't have a ton of harmonies. We didn't have a ton of extra fluff in there. So hopefully this can kind of help you guys, you know, dial back your vocal production. Or if you're a mixer and you see that you're not getting a ton of tracks, there are a ton of different things that you can do to kind of supplement that main vocal. So, you know, try using vocoders, try using the low octave vocals, high octave vocals, doing some of that more ear candy stuff, because you don't always have to have a vocalist come in and track 50 vocal tracks if they don't have to do it. So hopefully this video helped. If you guys like the song, definitely go check it out. But other than that, I think that's going to basically cover this. As you can see, like most of the vocal mixes we do, it's all about keeping it simple and really having a production and an arrangement that really opens up space for that vocal to sit. I think that the arrangement and just general production and overall mix outside of vocal is much more important than the actual vocal mix, because a good vocal shouldn't need too much at all if you had a good mic, a good singer, a decent room, and you just have a couple good tools that you can kind of use and you know exactly how to use them. So don't be afraid to do whatever you need to do. However, if you're finding that you're maxing out all of your inserts on every single vocal chain, maybe kind of cut back and see what you can do with just 1 or 2 EQs, 1 or 2 compressors, and some de-essing, and see if that's going to get you where it needs to go, because generally that should be all you need to at least get it sounding pretty tight in the mix. Once you want to throw effects and stuff on top of that, definitely go wild, but for a vocal, try to keep it as simple as possible, because the cleaner it is and the tighter it is, the more upfront and the more kind of centered it's going to sound in the big mix of everything all around it. So hopefully this video helped you. If you're not doing a lot of pop rock, you can easily apply these principles to like a really dense pop mix or a really dense electronic mix. Just don't be afraid to kind of play around with the EQs and compressors and find settings that are going to suit your productions a little bit better. This is all just kind of a starting point. But if you have any questions, let us know in the comments below and we will chat with you guys and try to answer whatever we can. Like I said before, if you want to check out more of our stuff, head over to makepopmusic.com. If you like this video, like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know what you want to see next time, and I hope you're all staying safe and staying happy. Much love for now, everybody. Peace out.